You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. This is a rough cut of one of the new tracks on our new album, Sunspin's new album.
Don't forget what you said yesterday.
Anyway, yeah, it was really fun making the album, and we're still making the album. We've got a lot of great musicians adding to the songs, and we're getting harmonies and doing all that stuff now. So it's really fun. The album for Sunspin will come out hopefully in the next couple of months, and there'll be CDs and albums and things available. I think you could also go to sunspin.com, and you can get tickets for our show. Well, actually, we already did our show, so maybe the next time I'll give you that information. But go to sunspin.com for if you want to Zoom me, if you want to get cool merch, Sunspin mugs, Sunspin hats, also the Inside of You online store, blah, blah, blah. You can get a bunch of merch there. But welcome, Ryan. Thank you for being here with me.
I feel like I'm floating on a cloud. That was very dreamy.
What, that song?
Yeah.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I played it for you earlier.
It's a synthy thing.
I like the synth, right?
Yeah.
It's synth.
Yeah.
It's the synth.
Floaty.
Yeah, it's floaty. I like it too. It takes me back to the 80s, and I sort of want to make songs that are feel like they're the 80s or the 90s or a little bit of now, but retro, that kind of feel. Thanks for taking the time to join me, to listen to me, to hopefully enjoy this podcast. We've got a great one today. She's never been on the podcast before, but I love her. She was Clark Kent's mom on Smallville, and we got to work together a little bit, and I adore her. Annette O'Toole, she's here today, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Also, if you want to join Patreon, Patreon really helps the podcast. So if you really like it and you want to support the podcast and give back, go to patreon.com/insideof you, Patreon, patreon.com/insideof. I'll send you a message after you join. There's different tiers. I send merch. I write little notes. So I thank you. And that's really all I have to say. Is there anything else we need to talk about, Ryan? Ryan, is there anything we need to talk about?
What do you wait?
I'm kidding.
Well, now.
Well, now.
Now.
Hey, I hope you guys are doing well. Our handles, by the way, are at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, at Inside of You Pod on the Twitter. It really helps. I've talked about this, but when you follow us, you write a review and keep listening and spread the word. That's pretty much. I have to say it every episode, and I'm saying it. I say it because, I'd like people to listen, like more people to listen. I think we have a good show here, and I hope you enjoy it too. So without further ado, why don't we just get into it? Why don't we get inside of the lovely Annette O'Toole?
It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum.
Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. How many podcasts do, you think?
I've done 2. This is the second one that I know of.
You did Ileana Douglas's.
That's not a podcast, is it?
It wasn't a podcast?
Well, it's a long time ago. Maybe they didn't call it that then. Maybe it was a podcast.
Maybe it was. It was
I
kind of
did
an interview.
that many years ago. It was right after John Hurd died. I remember because we talked about John.
You did a movie with John Hurd.
Yeah, Cat People.
Cat People. Right.
Yeah.
Was that where you obviously were close with him?
Yeah, I hadn't seen him in a while, but I loved John. We did Cat People. We did an Outer Limits in Vancouver. First time I ever worked in Vancouver. Are we shooting this?
I mean, yeah.
Are we?
We're just talking.
Because I'll talk more importantly.
No, you don't have to talk importantly. We're just fun, candid, whatever,
Well, anyway, yeah, I adored John, and he was a very complicated guy, and I just always felt really like he was my brother, because I never had a brother, but I'm not that close.
Right. But you felt like you wanted to help him. You wanted to talk to him. What was it about him that was what word did you just use? You said he was not complex, but
complicated.
Complicated.
There was something really like little lost boy about him. And he's a brilliant guy, and he just had so much going for him, but he had really a lot of demons. But I remember we were in New Orleans doing Cat People, and he had just come out of a marriage or an affair or something with Margot Kidder or something. I don't know. He was not in a good place. Right. And so he was drinking a lot. And another Frankie Faison, who was an actor also in Cat People, he and I had gone out to dinner, and we were on the trolley going back to our hotel, and we saw this guy just like asleep, kind of passed out on the bench. And we realized it was John. So he got out. We got him into the trolley, got him. I don't even know if he was staying at that hotel.
And how old is he at this point?
He was like early 30s.
And he was just passed 32. Out drunk.
Yeah, I hate to talk about it, but I mean, because he's gone now, and he kind of was very, vocal about his demons and issues and stuff. But anyway, after that, he got great. He got a lot better, and he worked, and he was great in that movie. Yeah. In Cat People. We had such a good time together. And
do you see that a lot, like in your career? Have you seen a lot of, actors or people that you've talked to just kind of go down that path of darkness and drinking, and you're like, ah?
There's only one other one I can think of right now who I was, I had not a relationship with, but a working relationship with, Tim McIntyre, who was very troubled. He was... he played George Jones when I did Tammy Wynette, the Stand By Your Man thing. Yes. And he was not in good shape. He was a son of Jeanette Nolan and Tim McIntyre. John McIntyre, who's a great actor.
That probably says a lot too when your dad's an actor. Yeah. And then right away you think, following in the footsteps. And
yeah, I don't know. He was kind of, and he's also gone. He's passed away a while ago. But no, I maybe because I don't look for that. If it's very, very apparent, I see it and have to deal with it. But it's I don't know a lot of people who went that way.
Did you stay away from that? Have you ever been a drinker? Did you ever get involved in the drugs and the stuff? You seem like you wouldn't. Like knowing you, I don't picture it, but I'd love to hear the dirt if you ever did.
No, I have no dirt. I didn't drink at all for a long time. I never liked hard liquor. I never liked the taste of it. Although I loved the smell of it. My grandfather always drank a big glass of bourbon when he'd come home from work. And my grandmother would have the ice ready for him. And then she'd pour this huge tumbler of bourbon.
Every night.
Yeah, every night. And I stayed with him a lot because my mother was a dance teacher.
Right.
And so, and my dad was working and he'd come pick me. One of them would come pick me up. But I was with him a lot, all by myself. And that's where I started baking and my whole home economics side of my life. But Grampy would come home and I would serve him his drink, get him his slippers, and we'd watch the news together.
Right.
And he was diabetic, so I had to learn how to cook.
How old are you at this point?
Then I was really little. I was 6 or 7.
6 or 7, giving Grandpa's bourbon.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Well, it was from Texas. This is what we did.
What did he call you? You had to have a nickname.
Nettie.
I knew it. See?
Yeah,
Say something.
The whole
Nettie, get me my bourbon.
No, he wasn't like that.
What was he?
No, he was very elegant.
Nettie?
No, not like he wasn't English.
He wasn't English. Why did I think English? I don't know.
He was just a great guy. Anyway, so I would give him his drink, and so I always loved the smell of it, and it reminded me of him. But drinking it was like drinking turpentine to me. It wasn't until I was doing. Right before Smallville, I was doing this show called The Huntress. And I was the lead of this cable show. And I was starting to have heart palpitations because I was being number one on a hour show is crazy. I've never worked that hard.
And you were playing a tough role too, right?
Yeah. Very active, running around as a bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter, right. Yeah.
And Jordana Spiro was my daughter. We were running all over the place and busting people. And so here's a sidebar.
Right. We'll get back to the alcoholism.
There's no alcoholism.
I know.
I finally started drinking wine because my doctor told me, for your heart palpitations, drink grape juice. And it was so sweet. Somebody said, why don't you just drink a little glass of wine? And it's like, oh, I really love this.
Did it help?
Yes.
It really helped.
Oh my God.
So you'd have a glass of wine every night, one glass.
Yes. Sometimes more than that.
Right. Okay.
So that's all I drink. I don't like hard liquor at all. I've tried to drink martinis and stuff. Bleh, I don't like them.
There was a sidebar.
Yes. Michael and Chris Guest and Harry Shearer were doing this acoustic version of all their music called Unwigged Unplugged. And we were traveling all over with tiny little mini tour. First time I'd ever done anything like this. And I was the backup singer for like a couple of songs.
Right.
And I would was basically Wendy, just kind of traveling on the bus with them and ironing shirts and going out to dinner and staying up all night. It was so much fun.
Is that Bus Stop Wendy?
But maybe.
No,
maybe. That's a new play I'm going to
Right.
write. But anyway, so I was just having the best time. So we're playing they are playing this Indian casino somewhere on the East Coast. I can't remember the name of it. It was packed. Everybody was there to see it. And so Joel McHale is there because he was either playing another room or he was coming in after us or something. He came to see them because, of course, he loves Spinal Tap like most people. And so he said, you gave me my first job in L.A. I said, what? He said, The Huntress. I was Quickie the Clown. Michael and I wrote one episode of The Huntress called Springing Tiny, or James Remar, who was in it. We were getting him out of jail.
James Remar.
You should have James Remar on your show.
You know him?
God. Are you kidding?
Can you hook that up?
Yes.
Dude, I love Remar.
Although, you know
Warriors and
we were in 48 Hours together.
48 Hours.
So he
was he Gans?
Yeah.
Did he play Gans?
I never watched the movies
Right.
I do.
You were
I don't
great in
remember-
that, though.
Thank you. I don't remember the names of the characters like that. So anyway, what was I telling you?
James Remar.
So James Remar, yeah, but then Joel McHale.
Joel McHale, right.
So anyway,
The Huntress. You cast him in The Huntress,
it was,
right.
James Remar was in it in
Right.
the show with me, and he was playing Tiny Bellows. So anyway, Michael and I wrote this episode called Springing Tiny, and there was always like this cold open kind of thing where we'd be going out and getting, we were the bounty hunters getting somebody, and it wasn't related to the rest of the show. It was just this opening thing, teaser kind of thing. So we had this guy who was all painted up like a clown, and he was at a kid's party, and we were going after him for not paying his child support, Jordan and I. So there's a whole thing where I'm like jumping on his back, and I never saw this man without makeup. He was when I came onto the set, he was in full blown, and it turned out to be Joel McHale, and that was his first job.
You didn't know.
I had no idea, but he wasn't like Joel McHale that we know.
Right, handsome.
Yeah.
He actually took the whole couch. Ryan couldn't. My engineer Ryan here couldn't sit down. Joel was sprawled out on the couch, comfortable as hell. We had a great rapport. He's a great guy.
He is such a nice man.
Really special. I could see why people like him.
Yeah.
He's just a likable guy.
We did something a few years ago called A Stupid and Futile Gesture about the life of Doug Kenny. I played Doug Kenny's mother, and that was Will Forte, and he played Chevy Chase, which was ironic since he had a lot of
He
experience
worked
with
with
Chevy Chase.
yeah. We talked about that.
I bet.
That went viral.
Did it?
When he talked about Chevy, I think it got like 1 million hits or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
He's awesome. I love him.
Did you ever work with Chevy Chase?
No, I never met
Did you
Chevy
never
Chase.
met him?
No.
No.
And it's weird because I worked with Marty Short and Steve Martin and that the
Cross
last
my
amigo.
heart. Cross my heart.
Yeah.
And with Martin Short. You made out with Martin Short.
Oh my God.
You had to have sex with, fake sex.
Kind of, yeah. Semi.
What was that like, by the way?
It was fantastic. The best thing about that movie was that it was shot almost like a play because it was mostly just the two of us. And there were some bookend scenes, but it was mostly just the two of us in this apartment. And so we just do it in order, which is so rare. You hardly ever get to shoot anything in sequence.
Right.
And I just adored him, and I just think the world of him. And anytime I see him, it's like just...
I'm sure he comes to some of those shows, like when Christopher Guest and Michael McKean, your husband, are playing. He'll show up. I'm sure Steve Martin has showed up.
You know, I don't remember seeing those two guys.
Really?
Yeah, I see him in New York when I'm... Steve Martin wrote this wonderful show called Bright Star. He wrote the music for it, and Edie... Oh my God, I'm so bad. Married to Paul Simon.
Edie Brickell.
McHale.
Brickell.
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 Brickell. It's
Yes.
a tough name.
Well, no, it's not a tough name. And
Do you remember the song? The song, her hit songs?
Well, I remember one that they wrote for the show that I sang on called Sun's Gonna Shine Again.
Really?
Yeah. Sun is gonna shine again, sun's gonna shine again, sun's gonna shine again, the sun's gonna shine again.
I love it.
It's a wonderful song. And so anyway, I didn't do the show, I did the workshop of it.
Right.
And so, but I'd met Steve a couple of times, and he's a very interesting man and he's very sweet. But Marty is like, because we had such a...
He's just out there and very...
He's the best.
Yeah.
And have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
Not yet.
Oh, it's great.
Is it good, Ryan?
It's amazing. I loved it.
It's
Really?
Loved it, yeah.
The music in that show. Oh my God, the music is amazing.
What kind of music?
It's it kind of feels like the beginning of, a masterpiece mystery, but then it's very New York sounding and urban. It's great. And I'm so sorry that I can't remember the man's name who wrote the music. And I follow him on Twitter. He's got a long name that I can't pronounce, but
I want to get into the music because you really weren't heavily into music until we'll get into that. I want to get into that about Michael and the whole 9/11 attacks and all those things.
Well, there was that old story.
That old story. It's a great story. Inside of You is brought to you by SoFi. With all the jargon, Ryan, flying around, it's hard to understand what the heck is going on, how to figure out how to start investing. Getting your money right is easier with SoFi, the first investing platform to offer stocks, ETFs, automated investing, and cryptocurrency too, all in one app. SoFi this app is so easy to navigate through and work through, easier than any other app I've been privy to. And anything easy is good for me. That's why the SoFi app is so pleasant to work with.
Whether you're eager to get started with investing or you already know the ropes and want to diversify your portfolio, SoFi has your back.
No commissions on trading stocks and ETFs, plus no account fees or hidden fees.
Use fractional shares that start as low as $5 to buy brand name stocks, even if you don't have a couple grand lying around.
Complimentary financial planners are ready to help with any questions, whether you're stuck on where to start or need help deciding what to do next.
Save for retirement with traditional Roth and SEP IRAs.
Get hands-on with active investing or let SoFi's #1 ranked automated investing tool, Robo-Advisor, take the stress out of building and managing a diversified portfolio by doing it for you. Cut through the jargon and make investing easier with SoFi. Visit SoFi.com/inside to learn how you can win up to $1,000 in stock when you open an account. That's SoFi.com/inside. Brokerage and active investing products offered through SoFi Securities LLC, member FINRA/SIPC. All investments involve risk, including the loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results or future performance. Inside of You is brought to you by Shopify. Shopify has saved me in many ways. When you want to sell merch, when you want to have somewhere where people can go to and buy things, there's nowhere else to go. I haven't heard of any other place, actually. It's just Shopify is all I know, and they make it so easy to check out what's selling. If you're out of something, it's so easy to operate, and I'm not good with this stuff. But Shopify has really worked for me. It's fantastic. Shopify, listen to this. It gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. Believe me, this podcast started out selling very few things, and maybe an item or two, and now today we're selling, I don't even want to say the number, but we're doing really well. I mean, we sell a lot of products, and people keep, the demand is up, and you see the demand, and you see what sells and what sells well, and it's so easy. Like mine, Shopify powers millions of businesses from first sale to full scale.
You can reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more.
Gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond.
More than a store, Shopify grows with you.
This is possibility, powered by Shopify. Go to shopify.com/inside, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/inside right now. Shopify.com/inside. I want to go back to Houston.
Okay.
When you were
Going
kind
back
of...
to Houston.
Was that a song?
Houston. Yep.
Going back to Houston.
You got it. That's pretty much the whole song.
Was that it?
Yeah.
You just keep saying that.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? I mean, were your parents very present in your life?
Yes. Well, I'm an only child.
Oh, well, there
and
you go.
they desperately wanted children. They couldn't have them for about 6 or 7 years. And they were in the process of adopting when my mother finally became pregnant with me. And she said the whole time she was pregnant, she said, I thought it was a dream. I couldn't believe it was really going to happen. I wanted it so bad. And she said, and then I wanted a girl so badly, I knew it was going to be a boy. So she got all her wishes without really hoping for them. And my mother's still with us, going strong at 96.
96?
Yeah, she still dances. She's was a tap teacher and still dances.
She was dancing. You started dancing at 3, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 years old. I wish somebody would have had me singing or dancing at 3 years old. My parents didn't believe in me at all. So they just like try to get through school. Try not to get too many U's. Do you remember in school, when I went to school, we had S's for satisfactory, U's for unsatisfactory, and N stood for
Nada.
But I used to get a lot of U's. Michael's behavior is unsatisfactory. You can understand that, though.
Absolutely.
I'm off the wall a little bit.
Yeah, and you're interesting. And there are a lot of kids who are really smart and not interested in what's going on. You know, they're bored by it.
I think that's what it was. I was really bored. Unless I had a really engaging teacher, someone who really took the time and made the course interesting and told stories. And then I was,
And then when you got, were you into drama? And
I started doing drama like late in high school at the end, and then I finally got into play my senior year, but I was always a nervous wreck. I was like, I still am to this day. I still get the nerves. I still get the anxiety, and it's not fun. I always hated it. I was like, is there a pill that would just take this all away and make me super confident, like that movie with what's his name? Limitless. He just takes a pill and it's that would be awesome. Do you get nerves?
Yes. Not as I've been doing a lot of theater since Smallville ended.
That would give me even more theater because I did a lot of theater, and I remember that's even harder.
Yeah, well, it's just that it's so immediate. If you're doing a movie, you can at least go again, but this is like you're there and you have to come up with it. But I'm less. It's always an issue, and especially around the first preview. Once the first preview happens, because you get like 2 or 3 weeks of previews normally. If you're on Broadway, you get like months.
Right.
So by that time, it's like, oh, I know how to do this. And then by the time opening night comes, it's almost like, you've got it down. But Laurence Olivier had terrible stage fright. That's why at the end, he didn't do theater anymore. And he had been, that was what he was known for.
One of the biggest.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. It makes you feel good when you hear that he had, he suffered from that. And a lot of people do. But a lot of people talk about it, and I don't know how much I believe it because I think, well, you have anxiety, but you don't get anxiety like me. Are you the kind of person who, before you're filming, before they say action, you're like in your head and you're like,
no,
never? Because you never seem like that. I was always, believe it or not, intimidated. But always, because I had this profound respect for you. Aww. And when you were on set, I was like, I don't know if it calmed me, but I forced myself to be more calm. Oh. I go, I want to impress Annette today. I don't want, but I remember saying all these lines and doing this part, and I was just like, Annette's a real actress, and she's done it all, and I want to impress her. I remember.
Well, I was impressed. I was very impressed. I always thought you were fantastic.
Well,
and you and John together, especially.
John was just amazing.
Great. Yeah, John and I are still close. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I love him, and we see each other.
Yeah, he's the best. We'll get into that. I want to get into that. But so growing up, you had two parents that just were they always like, I love you. Whatever you do, you can't go wrong. We respect you. We are there for you.
Pretty much.
God, how did that feel? I don't understand that.
Well, I didn't know anything else. I was lucky because I desperately wanted a sibling, but I really didn't. I really loved being the only one. And I had cousins who lived around the corner from me. So we'd be together all day, and then I'd go home at night and have all the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad was fantastic because he would come home and I'd get these little magazines in the mail, I got highlights, but another one, God, I can't remember the name of it. There was one called Calling All Girls, which was later. But before that, Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty magazine.
A magazine. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Well, it's so old. My God, I'm so much older than you guys.
No, not that much.
But it was great because they would have activities and puzzles and things you'd cut out and construct in this magazine. And I loved it. And I would get it. And my dad would come home, and it's like he'd just sit down with me immediately and do stuff. He was just so
hands on.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know, I have this lifelong, obsession with knitting and textiles and stuff. And he The first thing I got was a little loom, a little potholder loom, like every kid gets. And
Every kid?
well, you know, a lot of girls get it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then they got me a real like hand loom that has the warp and, you know, it has the shuttle and you weave in it.
Right.
And it came all, you know, all set up for you to make a little scarf. So I did that. And once that was done, I didn't know how to put it on again. I didn't know how to put the warp on. And my dad, who was an engineer, is a mechanical engineer, didn't know either. There was no internet to find these things out. And he didn't have time to go to the library. So he just figured it out. And I remember it being strung all across the living room, these little tiny, almost threads. And because he was just so dedicated to me and helping me do what I wanted to do. And that's how they always were. Whatever I wanted, I was encouraged in the arts because he wasn't, but my mother designed the costumes she and her sister owned this big dancing school in Houston. And so they'd have a big show every year and they would design the costumes as well as teach the dances and pick out all the music and all that stuff.
So you learned probably a lot about costuming and all these other things.
Not that much about costuming, but certainly about putting a show together and music and things like that, and dance. And so, but my dad was always there helping, like constructing things that, you know, a background piece they wanted, you know, he'd make it out of, you know, pipe cleaners and whatever, you know, he would just construct. He was always involved in it. And he would love to watch my mother sew. My mother's a great seamstress. And he would sit and help her and, you know, do the patterns with her. They were together from the time they were 11 and 12.
What?
Yeah. They lived around the corner from one another. Although he was just a friend. He would just come and hang out at my mother's house because he just loved my grandparents.
Well, I'd hope so at 11 years old.
Yes.
You better be a friend.
Well, it wasn't like, you know.
Right.
He was
pervy.
just this kid who they liked. He was this funny kid who lived around the corner. And then he went off when he was 17. He went off to World War II. He joined the Navy and went off. And he came back and my mother said he was a smoker. She said his hand was shaking so much he couldn't light a cigarette because he was in the boiler room and they would lock them in during battles. And so that they couldn't do anything but shovel coal or do whatever they had to do. And there was no escape. So anyway, he came home for a little bit and they sent him right back out because the war was still going on. And so that's when she decided she was going to marry him.
And how old was she then?
She was 16 if he was 17. So they didn't get married till she was 20. She just turned 20.
My grandparents did the same thing. They didn't get married. They knew each other since they were like 14.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting married. He just passed away 2 years ago and she seems like lost.
I remember you talking about your grandfather a lot.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah,
he's the biggest role model for me ever.
Yeah,
I mean, and it reminds me, your father reminded me of my grandfather because when it came to me, he had endless energy.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me attention like no other.
Yeah.
He would be interested in me. He wouldn't make me feel stupid. He'd make me feel smart. He'd explain things to me. He would go out and play tennis, whatever I wanted to do. It was just like, oh my God, I just loved but I didn't get to see him a lot.
Yeah.
But you had that guy all the time.
I did. I was very, very lucky.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I really envy that. And when did he pass?
2016. And I was not here. I was in Edinburgh, Scotland, doing a play. And
how did you deal with that?
It was really hard. It was the last 3 days. And I was going for 3 weeks. Edinburgh Festival is this big thing they do every year. And it's mostly comedians and music, big magic shows and things. But there are some big dramatic plays. And I was doing this play called Hamlet in Bed. It's a two-hander with this wonderful actor named Michael Lawrence, who wrote it. And so we had done it at the Rattlestick Theater in New York the year before. And so it was a big deal about doing a skimmed down version of it because you can only go like not even quite an hour at these shows because they go one after the other in these venues that they have. So my dad was really ill and I was going to be gone for 3 weeks. And it was one of those situations where he could go tomorrow, he could stay another year. We were not really sure.
You never know.
And he had worked in Scotland. He loved Scotland. And by this time he wasn't as he'd had everything wrong with him. He'd had strokes, he'd had cancer, he'd had heart attacks, he had pretty much, his lungs were, he was on oxygen for the last 2 years of his life.
So you've had a lot of phone calls. You had a lot of phone calls saying, hey, you might want to get down here.
Yes.
Right.
So anyway, I went because I'd committed to this play and I really wanted to do it. And anyway, so I went. And 3 days before I was done, they called me and he had passed. And so
how do you get through the next 3 days?
I it was hard. Michael Lawrence said, "Do you want to leave?" And I said, "No." He always, the main thing he taught me was to finish what you start. You know, if you can make a commitment, you honor your commitment. So I thought, also he wanted to be buried in Houston, and this was he died in L.A. So I knew that it wasn't like I have to get home for the funeral.
Right.
It was, we'll get him ready, and we'll get him there. You know, we'll arrange it all. So I knew it wasn't immediate that I had to be home. So anyway, I finished it. I somehow did it, and the hardest part was the flying home, because I had to go through. I had to stop somewhere. I can't remember where.
Change planes.
Yeah, and then before, I wasn't a direct flight from Edinburgh to.
And your mind just
London.
wasn't there. It was
I was just
like, wow, in shock.
Yeah, I was in shock. Yeah. So that was weird, but yeah.
So that was a tough time.
It was tough, but it was. Everybody has a tough time. You know, there's never any one way it goes that's easy.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway.
Jeez. Inside of You is brought to you by BetterHelp. Life can be overwhelming, and many people are burned out without even knowing it. Symptoms can include lack of motivation, feeling helpless or trapped, detachment, fatigue, and more. We associate burnout with work, but that's not the only cause. Any of our roles in life can lead us to feel burned out, and BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself. Talking with someone can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than an in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Inside of You listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/inside. That's betterhelp.com/inside. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/inside. Inside of You is brought to you by Nissan. The future will be great, but today is just as incredible. Meet Nissan's most advanced lineup. If you can't get enough adrenaline, there's the all-new 400 HP Nissan Z. Or for your off-road adventures, check out the all-terrain Nissan Frontier. If you're more of a spontaneous road trip type person, hop in the Nissan Pathfinder. And for something more electric, there's the stylish Nissan Aria. So let's enjoy the ride. 2023 Aria and Z not yet available for purchase. Expected availability this spring for 2023 Z and this fall for 2023 Aria. Death, I mean, losing my grandfather, that was one of the biggest losses I've ever had. That's truthfully, that was, but he died of Alzheimer's, so it was a slow process, and it felt like I was losing bits of him every year.
Oh, that's so hard.
It was terrible.
But you had him a long time.
I had him a long time. I was very, very lucky, and you want them to live forever.
That's right.
And, I hear his voice. I talk like him sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll go, he always, Mike, what are you doing? What is this? You're such a nut. He would call me a nut. What are you doing with this? How old are you? What are you? But so
and
when
he's from Indiana.
No, he's from New York. He's a New Yorker. Yeah, him and my grandmother are from the Bronx.
Oh,
my whole family is really from New York, and then my dad got a job transfer when I was like 10 to Indiana, and so I grew up in the southern Indiana as a Jew, no less. I mean, it wasn't that bad. I mean, there were a couple people in my sister when my sister went to high school that would throw a quarter down the hallway and say "fetch it, Jew." But overall, I never experienced that, but she did.
Oh, is she older?
She's older.
Oh my
by like 5 years. I never experienced it. Although, every once in a while I'd get something, and I go, "Well, I'm a Jew," and then they go, "No, shut up." And I go, "No, Rosenbaum. It's Rosenbaum. You're not a Jew." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." They couldn't. It was like the most incredulous thing that they'd ever heard. Wow. That I was a Jew.
Wow.
But, I don't know. Maybe certain people, I don't know. It wasn't as bad as my sister had it. But it wasn't, probably wasn't fun for her.
No, my God.
But when did you know that, hey, I want to be an actress? What was it?
I was in doing musical comedy. I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be Gwen Verdon, who I don't know if people know who Gwen Verdon is. But,
I don't.
Okay,
But that's okay.
She was an amazing. She was the first Lola and Damn Yankees. She was in Chicago. She was the first. Is it Velma? It's Velma. Roxy. She was the first Roxy in Chicago.
And she was kind of like someone you really
Yeah,
loved.
she was married to Bob Fosse.
Ah.
If you saw the movie about Bob Fosse that was on a couple of years ago, she's very prominent in that. Anyway, she was my idol, and I because I grew up in a dancing school, I just always thought that's what I would do. So we came out to LA and I was 13 and I was doing dancing and studying dancing and stuff. And I got an agent and they said, you really should, we're sending you out on these, acting interviews. You should take an acting class. So I really had a chip on my shoulder about it. I thought, I don't need that. I just want to sing and dance. And I was going to a lot of, dance auditions and stuff. So I went to a few acting classes and it just, didn't speak to me. And then I went to this acting class led by Robert Ellenstein, who was a fantastic character actor. He was in North by Northwest with Cary Grant. He's one of the two guys who kidnapped Cary Grant.
Oh, yeah. I just watched that, actually.
Yeah, he's the one with the hat.
Yep.
And not the one who is the gardener. He's the other one.
Right.
And I've seen him since in so many things. God, I just saw him the other day.
But you loved him.
I loved him, and I loved what he was saying and how he was approaching it. And I'm not kidding. As I was sitting there, I started thinking,
I want to be an
this
actress.
is what I want to do.
Actor,
this is what I want to
yes.
do. Why did I think that this is amazing? And it's a long career. And so I had an opportunity that not a lot of actors have to make a choice. I was about to turn 18, like in the next 2 weeks. I got a lead dancing role in a big show that was going to be at the Amundsen Theater, or Dorothy Chandler, one of them, Amundsen, I guess. And I got an episode of Gunsmoke.
Wow.
And so
Gunsmoke.
They conflicted.
And you did Gunsmoke.
And I chose. And my mother said, "You've got to make the decision. It's your choice."
Did your dad chime in like, "I like Gunsmoke. I'm a fan"?
I think no, he would never chime in, but I think he was pleased with my choice.
Yeah.
So I did the Gunsmoke, yeah, and I realized that I've been on two of the longest running shows ever, Gunsmoke and Law and Order.
Wow. Also Nash Bridges.
And Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. It's gone 18 years. And Nash Bridges
Yeah.
you've done.
Yes.
You played his wife, right?
I played his first wife.
He
had two wives.
Right.
I was the first one.
Was he fun to work with?
What's
his name?
I love Don. Don Johnson.
Don Johnson, yeah.
Oh my God.
I couldn't remember it, yeah. He was great to work with, really.
Well, I'd known him a long time.
Right.
He and my boyfriend, Bruno Kirby, who I was with for 8 years, they had done a movie together called The Harrod Experiment, which is where Don met Melanie through her mother, Tippi Hedren, who was in The Harrod Experiment. So I knew them. I mean, I would go.
You're like almost royalty.
Well, I just know. I've just been around so long.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of, you worked with a lot of gems. So
I have. I'm really lucky. And I'm tickled by it too. I still am not over the excitement of just being part of this world.
You still love acting.
Oh, I love acting more than I've ever loved acting.
Why?
I just, maybe now that, I had my children and they're now off and everything. And so my focus is primarily on my work. Michael too, but he's the same way I am. It's like, we can't imagine retiring. And it's nice now because I don't have as much competition for roles. All these other women, decided, I don't want to do this anymore. This is stupid.
They bow out.
Well, yeah, because they're smart. They they say, I want my life. I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to make an appointment. I want to get a dog. And
so you're taking all the roles.
Well, yeah, I am taking all the roles. All those juicy mother, grandmother roles now. No, but I'm really lucky. I'm on this show that shoots in Vancouver again. I'll never leave Vancouver.
And that's where we did Smallville.
Yes, called Virgin River.
Yes, it's just happening, right?
No, we just finished our fourth season.
Fourth season?
Yeah.
There's so many fucking. Did I just say f-bombs? Sorry about that. You could say f-bombs.
I don't really.
You don't
want
really.
to.
I've never heard you say an
Oh
f-bomb.
my God, I say it all the time.
Do you
I
really?
really say this is ridiculous. I have to stop doing this.
Can you say one f-bomb for me?
No.
I'll bleep it.
I'll throw it in somewhere when you least expect it.
Sweet. That would be great. So you're getting roles. You love acting now.
Yes.
You've got this rejuvenation of like this. What a cool thing.
And I get to go to New York. We have an apartment in New York, so I get to go there, and they hire us as locals. So that's nice because there's a lot that shoots in New York.
Yeah. Did you ever experience, like, I'm sure you did, being a woman in this industry, being hit on, being taken advantage of? Did that happen a lot to you?
Maybe I was so stupid. I didn't pick up on it. I was really, really naive.
Really?
Yeah. I'd have producers call me at home and say, "You want to come to Vegas for the weekend?" I say, "Well, can I bring my boyfriend?" I'd say that.
And they go, "No."
They'd say, "No, that
just
I said, "Well, why?"
negates the whole
It's
idea.
like, I had no idea.
Really?
That's what they were. I just thought, oh, they like me. They want to put me in a show. You know?
You never, in your whole career, had any moment where you're like, this guy's a perv.
I had one.
You did?
Yes, and I can't say who it is, although he's passed away very recently. It was a director,
right?
Who expected me. I was a meeting in a hotel room, and that was not unusual.
Right.
You go to somewhere and meet because he was from out of town. They'd go to they'd have a nice suite or something. You go meet them. But you've gone to casting
couches,
not casting couches. Meetings.
Yes.
Because the people are out of town,
right? Yeah.
And so they have it at in a room at the hotel. So to me it wasn't weird, and I knew the person who'd set it up was totally on the level. But I walk in and it's like, come over here, Well, it was like, oh my God.
And you're like, no.
The thing that upset me most was I thought, oh, he really doesn't want to cast me in this movie. I get it. It didn't.
It hurts.
It hurts. It was like, oh, this is what I'm here for. How dare he?
Yeah.
And so I told the person who'd set it up, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe it.
I had it happen to me.
Did
Believe
you?
it or not, you don't hear about male stories very often.
Ooh.
I had just moved to New York. I was a young actor. And this guy, he was one of the most important artistic directors at I won't say the name of the place.
Yeah.
Like, not Circle in the Square, not that one, but something like,
Okay.
And I just met him. We were just talking and laughing. He's like, "Oh, you know what? You should come with me to this dinner tonight. You should absolutely come." And I didn't think anything of it. And I went with him. And who was the father? Jerry's father in Seinfeld. Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira.
Yeah.
They were there.
Oh.
I ended up dancing with Ann Mira
my
for
God.
hours and hanging out with Jerry and just a blast. And it was like, wow, I'm a year into New York and we left and we're walking in my house was my apartment where I was staying was right there. And he's like, I go, "Oh yeah, if you want a drink or something, whatever." Not thinking he was gay. I didn't think that. I just, this nice guy. He's taking me, let's have a beer. I'm like 24. And we went up there and he kind of made a little pass at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, oh no, I'm not gay. I mean, some people have thought that too, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, but everything's cool. And he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, absolutely fine." And we finished the drink and he never returned any of my calls again, never. And he was like a big wig who was telling me, "Oh, there's this part in this and there's this part in this and there's this." And after he found out that I wasn't, he just completely shut me down. So I know that feeling of going, "Oh, I thought he was going to give me a chance."
And if I hadn't accepted it, I'd still have a chance at being maybe a part of the professional world, but you're not thinking that way.
Yeah.
Because my mind wasn't there at all. I just wanted to work. I wanted to act.
Yeah, that could get you emotional. That can get you upset pretty quickly.
Yeah, but
But you're lucky it only happened really once.
Yeah, maybe a couple other times. I don't dwell on it.
I wasn't aware of it.
I don't think about it. And now I wish I had been more aware of these things, because I hear about these women's stories and they're heartbreaking and horrible. And, and I just feel so lucky that maybe they just thought, well, she's so stupid. She's not picking up on this. Will we just go to the next person who, is smarter and more aware?
Jesus.
Oh, God, I tell you.
Seeing your face right now.
It's.
Well, tell me.
No,
It
I just felt really, maybe too because I was raised Catholic and very, like this. But it wasn't even that. It was, I don't know. I'm not saying anything.
I hear you. When you did a movie like Superman 3, were you thinking, I'm part of this franchise, this is going to be a huge movie, I'm working with all these people, this is going to be great, that kind of feeling?
It was really exciting to get to work with Richard Lester and Chris.
How was that working with Christopher Reeve?
He was fantastic. He was so kind because I was coming in. I think they were just really angry with Margot Kidder because she was causing them some grief. I don't know how or why. And she's been the sweetest. She came to Smallville and she was so sweet. But even then, because I had like a couple of scenes with her that we shot in one day.
Wasn't easy?
And she was incredible. Oh. She was so welcoming. And she was friends with Richard Pryor, and she introduced me to him, and he was so kind to me, and we sat on the set and talked, and he was so sweet.
Really?
Yeah.
What a great moment.
Yeah, he was amazing. I remember we were in Calgary, and that was Smallville. That was the Smallville.
Always Canada.
Yeah,
Canada's always Smallville.
And so I was there, and it was all that we're on. It's a parade or something going on. I saw the movie one time when it first came out, so I don't remember a lot. But I was on a parade dais kind of thing, and he's up there dressed up like a general, Richard Pryor.
Yep.
And so in between takes, we just sat and talked. He just wanted to know about
just a normal guy, fun guy.
He was asking me stuff like you're asking me about my family and my life, and I was getting ready to get married, and we talked about that. Anyway, he was just lovely. So, but Chris Reeve, when I got, so I was kind of like they wrote this part of Lana because they didn't have Lois.
Lana Lang.
Yeah. So I got there and I had just finished doing a play. I think I had just finished doing. No, I was doing 48 Hours at the same time. I just finished 48 Hours, and I got on a plane, got over there, and immediately was taken to wardrobe, and it was just this whirlwind. I mean, it didn't even...
It just happened overnight.
Yeah,
anywhere,
yeah,
right?
really fast, and met Richard Lester, and he's like, and I have this first scene, and it's all... But Chris Reeve invited me to his home, and he had his wife or his girlfriend and two little darling children, and we had dinner, and he took me to see Simon and Garfunkel at Wembley Stadium.
Wait a minute, and you didn't even really know him?
I didn't know him at all, and that was
he just
like
invites
his
you
way.
to this. Wow.
Yes. Gave me food and tickets and stuff, and then we were shooting at Pinewood, and he took me down to the commissary, and he said, "Start a tab for her here at the commissary." He's like, I never went again because I bring my cheese and crackers from home.
Wow.
But he couldn't have been more generous and sweet. And then on the set, and so I worked with him mostly as Clark for like weeks. We did all the Clark stuff.
Right.
And then I was coming to the set, and I was a Superman comic fanatic as a kid. I would trade the comic books. I loved Superman. Loved it.
I wasn't a big Superman fan. Believe it. Look at me, horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
posters.
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God.
I know.
So anyway, so the first time I go on the set, and I didn't see him because they had a separate room for him when he was doing playing Superman, because I had a lot of different makeup and wig and all that stuff he had to put on, and so I didn't see him, and I knew I was going to work with him as Superman. I'd seen him on screen as Superman, but I hadn't. So I'm walking by we're going to the set, and the stage is really dark, and I hear this voice say, "Hello, Annette." And I look to my right, and I look at this. It was like looking up a mountain. I looked like that, and I'm not kidding. I started to kind of like stutter and got chills, and it was there with Superman. It wasn't
dressed
Chris.
up. He was
in the whole gear. And talking about it now, I get chills thinking about it.
Wow.
It was amazing because it was a thing from my childhood and from watching the movies and then from knowing him. But it was the first time I really felt like, I don't know who that is. He wasn't Chris Reeve. He was talking a different way. He had a totally different kind of energy about him. Oh,
I don't think people realize what a great actor he was.
He was a great actor.
I mean, Somewhere in Time is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
He could just really turn it on.
Yeah.
He had this sweetness, this innate vulnerability to him, right?
Oh, he was wonderful.
God.
Just wonderful.
Are you someone who gets Do you even think ahead of time, like, this is going to be a hit? This has got to be a hit, right? It's going to be a hit. It's going to be a hit a lot. I'm sure I've done that a lot in my past. But then how do you treat sort of like when something comes out and it's not great, or it doesn't, or it bombs, how do you deal with that stuff?
It doesn't really affect me anymore. Maybe early on it did. I'd think, oh, this is going to, but all I ever wanted was to continue to work, to do enough work where people knew who I was and not repeat myself. And I've been able to do that.
Yeah.
So, this is also why I don't watch what I do. Because
You don't watch what you do at all.
It depends. Sometimes I do. Like I did, I did 3 episodes of Kidding with Jim Carrey and Frank Langella.
Oh,
and
boy.
I watched that because I love Frank Langella. And I had missed an opportunity to work with him early on in my career. I just didn't get this part. It came down to me and somebody else. The other girl got it. And I always regret it. And so I got just a couple of years ago to work with him on this thing. And also to work with Jim Carrey, it was like so exciting.
How was he?
He was great. He's very intense.
He is?
Everything, yes. I don't know if he's always that way or whether is this part.
But he's not the big, funny, outlandish guy you meet.
He is when they say get action.
That's when it
But
happens.
we were also playing I was playing his mother who had Alzheimer's.
Right.
And I was in a facility that it is all in the 60s. If nobody's seen Kidding, you should watch it. It's 2 seasons of amazing work by everybody.
Awesome.
Everybody's so
I
good
will.
in it. You would love it.
Yeah, I will watch
He
it.
plays a sort of Mr. Rogers type who's going through this terrible crisis in his marriage and in his
You've
life.
seen it?
Well, I've seen it because my girlfriend is she's a voice actress, and she's this Tara Lipinski's parakeet.
Oh my God.
So she does a lot of swearing as like a parakeet. There's like a scene where
That's amazing.
Jim
Go
Carrey has
for it,
to.
Amanda.
Love this
All right, I'm going to
show.
watch it.
It's a brilliant show.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
it's so sad it didn't continue on.
But you don't watch
Catherine
yourself,
Keener.
though, by the way.
No, so I watch
Except
that,
for the
but
Frank Langella.
I don't normally watch myself. If I want to see for some reason like a little bit of it, but I won't watch the whole thing because it's just it's never
What you
it's
want it
never
to be.
what I wanted it to be because you don't have control of it. Maybe they picked a take you didn't particularly feel good about,
Right.
or they cut it together in a way that's like, oh.
Or you don't like the way you look.
You don't like the way you
Or-
look. Yeah, all these different things. So it's the doing of it. I love doing it. I love getting up early and thinking about it and being focused on it and doing it and it's like a puzzle that is so different every time because you know all the elements are different. The director and the material and your co-actors and where you are if you're in Canada. It's just I just find it endlessly fascinating because you can prepare, but once you get there, it's always a little bit different.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
Wow.
And that's why I love being on stage too, because then you have the live element, you have the audience
immediate
who's
response.
a part of such a part of the show.
That's amazing. I mean, I know those actors who that's their mentality. I just want to work.
Yeah.
I just want to work and do something and be on set. And I go, I don't. I don't want to be on any set. I don't want to work. I want to do everything I can to be on something that I think people will watch and be like, what do you care if you're just acting? It's all about acting. I go, because I don't want to be on a show that's not great. Why is that so bad? I want to be on something that's really good, or I would rather not act.
It's not bad at all. Everybody's
But
different.
it's a weird mentality that I have.
I don't know if
I
it's
don't want to
weird.
just look. If I knock on wood, but if I was broke, I would do anything.
Yeah.
I would work at McDonald's. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to working on go-karts, being a mechanic at a go-kart track. But anyway, I love that that's how you feel. I love that you just wake up and go, and how can I make this interesting?
Yeah.
And you never, what frustrates you though about filming? Because there were times, I'd say 99% of the time, you were always very excited on set. But there were some points at the end where I think you were like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm kind of maybe a little over it.
I was very over
I think we
it.
were all over, after a while.
Well, for me, it was weird. See, you guys were all there. You stayed. You lived there when we were shooting.
You were schlepped back and
there were
forth.
times I'd go back three times a week. And like I would ask them each year, I would say, is it possible? I go home on the weekends. Is it possible for me to either have Friday or Monday off? My kids were in school. There were all these school events. And every year I'd ask them, and every year I'd be the last up Friday night and the first up Monday morning. And it's like,
It just upset you.
It was just like, you have no, it's all about the show. It's all about the schedule. I know that was a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, second unit, I never saw a second unit like that.
Oh,
where it was just as much, big scenes being done on
3
second
days
unit.
or 2 or 3
I know,
days
and I
of it.
didn't have to be part of that. And I also felt like, well, if the show's short, my scene will be in, my little 2-3 page scene will be in. And if it's long, that'll be the first scene cut. Because it was always written that way towards the end. And I just thought, why am I here? What's the point?
Right.
I mean, it was wonderful money, because now I have enough money to do the theater that I want to do.
Yeah.
It was great, to be able to provide for my family. I'm sorry, I got a fucking frog in my throat.
Oh, there's the F-bomb.
There we go.
Yes.
I coughed it out.
Yeah, we could have edited it, but I'm going to keep your fucking. I'm going to keep you fucking. Because honestly, you had a blast, I think, for a lot of the time.
Yeah,
But it was just
I did.
towards the end, you were just like, okay, I need it.
It was exhausting because it wasn't interesting work. I'll come and do anything if it's interesting.
Right. It
But
just
it was
got
like,
repetitive.
here's your coffee. Here, honey, Michael always says, what did you have to say today? Oh, Clark, how's your leg? Whatever. It was just for some reason.
Tom loves you.
I love
Welling
Tom.
loves
I
you. He
adore Tom.
He just spent the night for a couple of nights here. We're talking about a new project we're doing. And he's like, I want to be here for Annette. And I'm like, well, she's at 12. Oh, I have to leave at 8:30.
Oh.
And he was really bummed, but he always loved working with you. You remember there's a scene, he always talks about a scene where he wasn't even supposed to tear up or cry, and he got emotional because
Really?
you made him emotional. You were so engaged and so present in the moment that it got him emotional. He felt like
Well, that's great.
got
That's
really
what
emotional.
actors need to do for one another,
Yeah.
to be in it all the time.
you
as much
were.
as
You were
can.
always there.
I tried to be. Anyway, and I loved working with Glover. And that was so much fun when we were working together.
Yeah.
And we'd come up on the plane together and go home usually together. And, it was a fun time. Like the first
Yeah.
few years were really fun.
Did you audition for it?
No, I came in, I thought you knew this.
No, I didn't know anything.
I was doing The Huntress. And so I didn't know anything about it. And The Huntress ended, and I got this call from my agent saying that they wanted to replace Martha Kent. It had been shot. It was a woman named Cynthia Ettinger.
Right.
Wonderful actress. So they sent me the pilot. I saw it. And I loved it because I'm the Superman fanatic.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm fucked because I love this show. And now I have to go to Vancouver but I never expected it to be a hit show.
Like that.
Ever. And when it was like, oh my God, I've got to do this for 6 years.
Did people stop you in the streets ever?
Yes. And throw their arms around me.
What?
And say, we love this show so much. It's the only show I can watch with my family. My family, we're in terrible crisis about all this other stuff, but we sit down and watch Smallville together. And that made me so happy. I thought, then that's worth it to me. To be a force for good. Because as an actor, you feel like, oh, I'm just, doing stuff that makes me happy and it's vain and what does it mean to people? And it's like, it means something to people. And this show I'm doing now is the same way. I get recognized from it all the time. It's a romantic drama based on romance books. It was the first time Netflix ever went into that genre.
Right.
And it has become, it's the 4th most streamed show in the world.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. It's huge.
I got to watch this.
It's may not be your cup of tea. It's very, very romantic and slow.
What are you saying?
No, I'm saying it's incredibly.
I can't be romantic.
You can, but you like horror movies.
No,
I'm just saying.
I could watch anything if it's good.
It's good. It's
Well,
very
that's
well
good.
done.
You're in it. I'll check it out. I'm going to watch Kidding for sure.
Oh, you can watch Kidding. It's beautifully produced, written, acted by wonderful and Tim Matheson, who I've known for 40-something years. We play opposite one another, and we have a great time. And yeah, we're gonna do another season soon. They've announced it, so I can say it. Netflix is wants you to be very careful.
And what's the show?
It's called Virgin River.
Virgin River. And where can they find it?
Netflix.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you like working for Netflix?
They're great.
Really?
They're great. They have right of first refusal on everything I do. So anytime I want to do anything, even a play, I have to go to them.
You have to ask them.
And ask them, but they're great. They've never said, no, you can't. The only thing I think they would not want me to do is like another mini series on Showtime or HBO or
Yes.
something. Not
Yeah.
that I've been asked,
Right.
but that would conflict with them.
Where did you meet Michael McKean?
I knew Michael for years and years because we were, young Hollywood, and we
Really?
were, yeah.
So how far back did you know him?
I knew him when he was doing Laverne and Shirley.
Really?
Yeah.
But you were just friends. You didn't
We
think
weren't even
romantic
really-
at all.
We weren't even really friends. I was with Bruno Kirby, and for many years, and Michael was married. He got married very young, and so his wife Susan was never. She wasn't an actress. She wasn't involved. She's very into her horses and that kind of that world. So he when I saw him around, he was always on his own. He was always kind of stag. But I'd see him at Rob Reiner's house at a party, and I was there not because of me, because of Bruno.
Right.
So, and we'd see each other at screenings of movies and stuff. So I just saw him, and I always thought he was really cute. I loved Laverne and Shirley. I thought those guys were amazing and brilliant and hilarious. And I saw him one time. I remember he was driving in the Valley, and had just started living in the Valley, and I saw him, and he was with his son. And his son was about 5 at the time. And I remember we stopped at a light, and he was there and I was here. And he looked over, and I saw him, and we saw each other exactly the same time. And his face lit up. And I thought, oh, he remembers who I am. It was like, that was really nice. It made me feel really good.
Wow.
So then I didn't see him for many, many years. And I was living in Oregon, in Ashland, Oregon. And I was asked to do a Lifetime movie called Final Justice. And Ron Silver was supposed to do it. Wonderful actor, Ron Silver.
Yeah.
And he decided he'd played one too many sleazy lawyers. So they asked Michael McKean to do it. And the next time I saw him was in Portland, Oregon, where we played the adversaries. And we just got to know each other.
So you became friends, really good friends, before you actually went out.
Yes. I was still living in Oregon, but I was on my way back to LA. I was divorced, had been for a few years, but I needed to come back to LA because the girls my daughters were about to go into high school and into middle school. They're 4 years apart. So I needed to be back in LA to work. I couldn't do it from Oregon anymore because I was now in early 40s and it was just not working out. So Michael was in a relationship, and we just stayed in touch. We loved the same books and movies and music, and he'd call me and say, hey, Elvis Costello's on blah, blah, blah. I'd turn it on. And it was that kind of relationship.
But when did he call and say, I'd like to take you to dinner?
He called me. I had a little inkling, right? We would email one another.
Right.
And I asked him how his girlfriend was. And he said, she's in Vancouver. It's just as well.
Oh.
I thought, trouble in paradise. And never thought anything about it. I had no designs on him in that way. I didn't ever want to get married again. I didn't even want to be in a relationship again. I just wanted to get back to LA, get my girls in school. My parents were coming too, and we were all going to be in Los Angeles, and I was going to kind of start this new chapter of my life. And so then so after that little email exchange, it was, I remember my daughter Anna had been really sick. She had flu or something. And I had her in bed with me. She was like 9, I think, 10. And she was burning up, and I wanted to watch her. So I had her in bed with me. So the phone rang. It's like 11 o'clock at night. And it was him. And I said, oh, Michael, hi. I'd love to talk to you, but Anna's really sick, and I just can't talk right now. And he said, oh, okay. I'll call you. Can I call you tomorrow? And I thought, oh my God, it's that call. And I did the thing that I've never seen anybody else do in life. When I see it in a movie, I think that's not real. I went into the bathroom because I didn't want to wake her up. She'd finally gone to sleep. And I did silent screaming and jumping up and down.
What?
Because I knew, I heard everything in his voice. I knew I would marry him. I knew that we would be together forever. I just knew it.
Some would call that psycho.
Yeah. But it is psycho.
But it's a dream. It wasn't like you didn't know him. It wasn't like you met somebody at a bar and go, that's the one.
No.
This is someone you knew.
I knew him very well because I
worked
worked with him. Wow. I worked with him, and I knew how he was in that in that.
Because you know the actor world.
Yes.
You know to stay away. Well, you haven't always stayed away.
No.
You didn't stay away this time.
No. So our first date was going to a Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Joni Mitchell concert.
Oh.
They were on tour together, going through all. We saw them at UCLA.
Help me, I think I'm falling. She lived close to me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Anyway, it was a fantastic night, and we ended. Well, we both knew when we were both. Van Morrison was singing "Have I Told You Lately," which is our song. And we were just holding one another, weeping, because it was like this moment of our lives have completely changed. It came out of the blue for both of us. We weren't looking for it; it just happened. And
you needed each other.
We really did. And it's been so much fun. It's such
How
an
many years
adventure.
now?
It'll be 23 years, married in March, but we've been together 25.
Was there a little starstruck you to him to you at all? Or was there any, could you just kind of like, no? Like, oh my God, he was in Spinal Tap. Oh my God, he was Laverne.
I hadn't seen
and
Spinal
she was
Tap.
in this.
I hadn't seen Spinal Tap.
You hadn't seen Spinal Tap?
Because Bruno was in Spinal Tap. And that right when we were breaking up was when he was doing Spinal Tap. So for me, Spinal Tap was like, I just didn't want to see it. And then it became so popular that I had like, well, I don't want to see it, So
and then you ended up singing with the band.
Yeah, I sing with the band. And of course now it's, I realize how great it is. And I even think Bruno's great in it, which he is. So, but it was mostly because I just thought he was such a brilliant guy in general. The way he would talk about everything. He knows, he's the Celebrity Jeopardy champion. He won $1 million for a multiple myeloma foundation. He's
incredibly smart.
Yeah.
He's also very intimidating. I worked with him on Smallville and I loved him, but I remember when I don't know if you care. You talk about, you smoke pot still, right?
Him?
Well, you?
I don't. But
you don't. He does.
He does, yeah.
But I remember smoking pot with him in a hotel room. You were there. Yeah. And we were playing guitar, and I got really high. I mean, he must have gave me some really good weed, and then I got paranoid, and I thought I was making an ass of myself. So I kind of left early, and I go, oh my God, I just blew it. McKean thinks I'm a dud.
No, he loves you, Michael. Come on.
That's how I thought.
No.
He's intimidating. He's really good. I think he's just intense because he's always serious about the role. He wants to nail the role.
Yeah,
he wants to do. So he's like that. And that's what it was about. It wasn't about, you know what I mean? But I loved it. But I always adored him. Tell me the story quickly about, it's 9/11. It's one of the worst time moments in U.S. history.
Yeah.
And you had to go back to.
Well, I'd flown up on 9/10 to do second unit on the second episode, the one that Dan Loria, the football episode.
Right, yep.
And so the next morning, all hell broke loose. The world completely turned upside down. So I was there, and all day I was waiting to be called to the set. Finally got called to the set, and they came to the door of my dressing room and said, "We're not going to get to you, sorry." And I burst into tears. Another thing that when they say on the page, she bursts into tears. I'd never really known how to do that until that day, when I burst into tears in front of the poor Sarah, the PA.
I remember Sarah,
with the blonde hair.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. So I burst into tears, and then it didn't look like they were going to get to it anytime soon. So I called the office, Bob, guy, and said I would like to go home because I was away from my family, and I thought, well, they're going to hit LA. If they're going to hit LA, I want to be home.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get home. And I said, if you're not going to need me, I'm going home. There are no flights. So I took the car that I had been renting, and I drove home. And I stopped in Reading. That was my only stop. And I got home. They called and they said, we need you tomorrow. I said, you told me I could go home. I was like weeping. I said, why? And then they said, well, if you're not here, we're going to, that kind of stuff. They started getting really nasty about it. And so I said, well, I can't get there tomorrow because I can't get a plane unless you want to charter a flight for me. So I was so mad. So Michael said, I'm coming with you. So I turned around the next morning we left.
And drove.
Drove all the way back. So somewhere between Portland and Seattle, I got this weird melody in my head. Da 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 da, and it kept going over and over and over in my head. Finally I said, Michael, am I making this up, or is this a song, an old song he said, oh, I've never heard, you're making that up. He said, let's put lyrics to it. So we just said, potatoes in the paddy wagon. Da, da, da. I said, oh, okay, but potato has to be a girl. It can't be just potatoes. Oh, okay. And we wrote the whole song.
In the car, on the drive.
In the car. And we had nothing to
Thinking
write
nothing's
with.
going to happen with
Yeah,
this.
nothing's going to happen. So we get there and we finish the song. In fact, I think I went to work the next morning and he finished filling it all in. And like, he didn't have, he must have brought his guitar. He brought his guitar because he had his guitar. So he was fooling around with it, figuring it out. And he said, I think Chris might like this for a mighty wind.
Chris Guest.
Because they were in the process of writing all the songs for the movie. So we wrote that. And then I can't remember the timeline. But anyway, Chris asked Michael to write, if he wanted to write this signature song for Mitch and Mickey. And he said, the only thing, it has to have a kiss in it. There's a kiss, whether they're going to kiss or not.
At the end of the rainbow.
And so Michael said to me, do you want to write this song with me? I have a title already. A Kiss at the End of the Rainbow. And I said, yeah. So I drank 2 glasses of wine that night.
Whoa,
he drank,
messy.
he smoked his friend. And we sat down and we wrote it. We mostly wrote the song, and then we took Jimmy, our beloved dog Jimmy, out for a walk and finished writing the song. And then I took it to Chris, sang it for Chris, and he said, "Oh, it's beautiful, but it's a real song. It's not." He didn't think it was going to be funny enough. So we went home and wrote another song called "Closer Than Tomorrow," which is another wonderful song. But Jamie Lee Curtis happened to be there when we sang it. She said, "Oh no, that's the song. It should be a wonderful song. It shouldn't be funny. It should be a real love song." And we love that song because it's just about us. It's about our story and just kind of how we feel about one another. And and we were nominated for an Academy Award for it, which was really,
come on.
really crazy.
Come on.
Because of all that, and that score should have been nominated. Every song, Chris wanted every song to be a different type of folk song.
Right.
And that's what they did. And Eugene and Catherine wrote stuff, and C.J. Vanston, who's the Spinal Tap guy and who does all their music for all their movies, and traveled with them in Unwigged Unplugged. Oh. He wrote a sea shanty and didn't have lyrics, so Michael and I wrote the lyrics for that.
Jesus.
So I had 3 songs represented. In the movie.
Songs, and you had never written a song before, really.
I'd written stuff for the kids, just stupid little stuff. Yeah. So then I started writing in earnest. I started writing a lot of songs, and we were going to write a musical together, which is never going to happen because it's just too hard.
Is Christopher Guest intimidating?
He used to be to me, just because of what you say. He's just so brilliant, and you just think so much of his work and his amazing, these stories which are so sweet. But when you look at the movies, that's what he's like. He's very sweet. He has a goodness about him that is not apparent because he doesn't show it very much. But he's a lovely man, and
I forgot the notes. We're going to do this last segment. It's really quick. It's rapid fire.
Oh, God.
This is called Shit Talking with Annette O'Toole.
Okay.
And these are from patrons, lovable patrons. They're on my Patreon. They support the podcast in many ways. Leanne, what was it like having your husband portray Perry White on Smallville? I noticed the two of you did not have a lot of screen time together during that episode.
We had a wonderful time. It was just nice to have him up there with me and being paid to be up there with me, being my fancy man. We didn't have a lot to do on set together, but later on we did. They called us both back for an episode, after my first stint. And anytime I'm with Michael, off on screen, I'm very happy.
Awesome. Rosie, my question is, what is the funniest thing that you have seen happen on the set of Smallville?
On the set of Smallville, the first thing that comes to my mind, is that funny? My daughter Anna came up and was a cheerleader in the episode where they were doing a lot of cheerleading.
Right.
And so I just remember being out there with her, and I'm sort of the stage mom, like, oh, is she okay? Is she? Because she wasn't really supposed to be there. She's not Canadian. She wasn't really, working but she's featured. They were very sweet about featuring her, and she did a really good job. But she was in the sun and she didn't have sunblock on, and I was very concerned about her white skin.
Very pale skin.
Well, she's very easily burned. So that's not funny. Funny? God, was it Rosie? Was that her?
Rosie.
Rosie, I want to think of something funny. Oh my God.
I mean, I had to have made you
Funny.
laugh.
Of
I'm sure I
course.
made you laugh.
You
on
made
set.
me laugh
We were
all
just
the
about
time.
nonsense. That's okay.
Okay.
Lisa H.
Yes.
Well, no, Emily S. What is it like filming on It? Such a classic movie, one of my favorites.
I had the
It was a little
most,
miniseries.
maybe next to doing Cross My Heart with Marty Short, because I did nothing but laugh on that show. It was close to that because it had all these guys. I was the only girl. It was like going to summer camp. I never went to summer camp in my real life, but it was what I imagined. But they were all like vying for my attention, and they were all really brilliant, funny guys. I'd known John and Richard Thomas forever, and we just had a ball. Even Tim Curry. I mean, because out of Pennywise, he was just one of us. It was really fun.
So he would talk to you guys and he wasn't too serious, going hello.
No, God, no. We all
Really?
go out to dinner together. We went dancing. That was kind of our bonding moment to be this group of people together. Yeah.
Kristen K.
Yes.
Not Kristen Krupp. Will your character Hope be returning to Virgin River? The answer is
yes.
For season 4.
Season 4, and then we go start season 5 sometime later this year. I don't know when.
This is a little complicated question. I don't know if you could do it rapid fire, but Maya P, over your career, how have you seen female roles evolve, and what would you like to still see? What would you still like to see?
Female roles evolve. I like that it's funny because I like the idea that women are being these kind of badass, running around. This movie, I don't know the name of it, that actress I love, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, did, where she's a hit woman or she's something like that. I love the idea of it, but when I see the trailer, I don't want to see it. It's not that I want her to be a girl. I want her to do what guys do, but I don't like movies like that at all. I guess maybe that's my thing.
I'm not a big, I know what you mean.
But I love that. I love movies made by women. This Power of the Dog, Jane Campion's new film.
I gotta see it. I haven't
God,
seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's so great. And
I didn't like Spencer. Bored as shit.
I don't ever like to say not good things about things.
I
It's like I
bored.
just
I
don't
have
say
to.
anything.
I can't not.
Well, it's good. It's good. I wish I were more. I'm
not gonna
honest.
say terrible. I just was bored.
I'm honest at home, but I
Yeah.
listen. I think she did a very good job. A very good job.
Yeah.
I
love her.
I think
just thought
she's
it was boring.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I love her very much. And who I really love? Scarlett Johansson.
Oh yeah.
I
She's
adore
fantastic.
her. I think she's such a good actress. I hope I answered the question about women's roles. I can only really speak for myself.
Yeah. No, quickly. How is Nick Nolte to work with?
I love Nick
You
Nolte.
love Nick Nolte.
I
That gruff. I
loved
love
him.
Nolte. Favorite line in 48 Hours is when he was with Eddie Murphy. And Eddie Murphy's sitting, he goes, Jack, tell me a story. He's like, fuck you, convict. He's like, oh, that's one of my favorites. Remember that?
I vaguely remember it because I only saw it once when it first came out. I
huge hit.
love Nick Nolte. I had a wonderful time with him, and I saw him a few years ago, and we had a nice
Annette, how are you?
Yeah,
Just a
nice
gruff.
big hug. He's awesome.
Working with Barry Manilow. Did you sing with Barry?
Yes.
What did you sing?
I was Lola.
You were Lola.
Yes.
So you sang all these songs with
I
him?
sang "Man Wanted," which is this wonderful song.
Yeah.
And it was mostly him singing. I got to sing "Abba Dabba Honeymoon," "Abba Dabba 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 Dabba," said the monkey to the chimp. Because our characters meet by going on like name that tune or something. And so I say something wrong. I say "Abba Dabba 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 Dabba," said the monkey to the shrimp, and so I get kicked off. Then I faint because I haven't eaten. And then he wins the contest and he takes me out to dinner or something. And then we decide we're going to audition for the Copacabana show. And
Was he great?
he was fantastic.
Barry Manilow. She
Yes.
worked with Barry Manilow.
I did. I loved him. I see. This is on like this Pollyanna. I love pretty much everybody.
No, it's good. That's why people like working with you. That's why you know.
Well, I just appreciate them. Everybody works so hard, and everybody's very different. And I just enjoy what I do.
Well, I love you being here.
Oh,
Thank you
you
for answering all my questions.
Absolutely.
This
Thank
has been
you
really
for-
fun for me.
Me too.
I found out a lot about you that I didn't really know.
Oh, good.
You know what I mean? Sometimes
Uh-huh.
you have to put the headphones on and you have to zone in and go, holy shit, man, Annette, look at this.
Oh, well,
I-
thank you
I
for
love
having
it.
me
Yeah.
back. I haven't been here in so many years, and I'm very happy to be back.
Well, guys, watch Virgin River,
Yes.
season 4, Netflix. I'm going to watch it, so you should. And I'm also going to watch that Kidding.
Yes.
I really got to watch that.
Kidding is wonderful.
And because Amanda's the voice of the parrot.
If you want to hear a parakeet drop some
Parakeet.
C-bombs, then yeah.
Sweet. Thank you, Annette, for allowing me to be
You're
inside of you. And
Absolutely.
you will call James Remar? and talk to Michael
Yes,
about being on the show?
I will have to find. He changed his email address, so I'll have to track him down some other way.
I have somebody else who knows him real well who asked me about him coming on the
Well, I'll
podcast.
find
I just
him.
love him.
I'll find him. He's awesome.
He's awesome. All right, I love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Love talking to her. It was groovy having her over the house. I hadn't seen her in a long time. I thought she looked great,
Yeah.
and she was really sweet.
She's a nice person.
Nice disposition.
Yeah.
Nice demeanor.
Yeah.
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 Just really friendly.
She's really friendly. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I hope you liked the podcast today. Hope you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'm about to read the top tier patrons. Also reminding you, if you want to get any cool merch, signed autographs, Lex Luthor, or signed stuff, tumblers, mugs from the podcast, go to the Inside of You online store. If you want band stuff, go to sunspin.com. Get your Sunspin hat, get your Sunspin mug, pictures, CDs, albums, all that stuff. And if you want to join Patreon to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/insideofyou. I will write you a message as soon as I see your message. So I thank you. We're going to read the top tier patrons, Ryan.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
We'll blitz through them. Nancy D, Leah S, Sarah V, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Jill E, Brian H, Nico P, Robert B, Jason W, Kristen K. Did I tell you we have new Inside of You socks available on the Inside of You online store? Well, we do. Inside of You online socks, folks. If you want some socks, go to that Inside of You online store. Raj C. Hi, Raj. Joshua D. CJP. Jennifer N. Stacy L. Jamal F. Janelle B. Kimberly E. Mike E. Eldon Supremo. 99 more. Ramira. Santiago M. Chad W. Leanne P. Maya P. Maddie S. Belinda.
N.
Correct. Chris H. Dave H. Sheila G. Brad D. Ray H. Tabitha T. Tom N. Liliana A. Talia M. Betsy D. Chad L. Rochelle. Marion. Meg.
K.
Trav.
L.
Dan.
The man.
N.
All right.
Big Stevie.
W.
Angel.
Of mine.
Angel of mine. Well, M. Angel of M.
Oh, great.
Of
Okay.
mine. Rhiannon C. Corey K. Super Sam. Dev.
Nexon.
You got it. Dev Nexon. What's up, Dev Nexon and Super Sam? Michelle A. Jeremy C. Andy T. Cody R. Gavinator. David C. John B. Brandy D. Yavor. Camille S. The C. Joey M. Willie F. David H. Omar I. Design OTG. Eugene and Leah. Chris P. Nikki G. Corey. Nicole. Patricia. Heather L. Jake B. James B. Bobbitt. Joshua B. Tony G. Megan T. Mel S. Orlando C. John B. Caroline R. Rob E. Paul C. Christine S. Sarah S. Eric H. Spring. Jennifer R. Shane R. Emma R. Mark M. and Jeremy V. Jeremy, it's a funny way of spelling it. Jerami.
Oh, that's fun.
Jeremy spoken. Yeah. Hey, guys, without you guys on the Patreon, I really couldn't do this show. You help the podcast more than you possibly know, and thank you. And those of you who want to join Patreon and get your name shouted out, join it. Patreon.com/insideofyou. This has been a real treat having Annette O'Toole on the show. Last week we had Jared Padalecki. I think the shows are getting better and better. I hope you stay tuned. I hope you stick around. I'm trying to stick around, but I need you to help me stick around. So keep motivating me. Keep appreciating the show. Keep sending kind messages. Keep spreading the word. And most importantly, be good to yourselves, damn it. Be good to yourselves, and I hope you have a lovely week. From myself, Michael Rosenbaum, here in the Hollywood Hills of California.
Basil right out here in the Hollywood Hills, Hollywood.
Right there in that camera.
That's
We
gibberish.
lose our minds sometimes. Sometimes. I think I'm losing my mind this time. This time, I'm losing my mind. You know who that is?
No.
Beastie Boys.
Really?
Yeah, it's Beastie Boys. Guys, thank you for allowing me to be inside of each and every one of you. It's a real treat. It's really cool when your colleagues are talking about how much they like your show, and fans come up to you, and just listeners, not even fans, listeners, people who listen to the show, and it keeps me motivated. It really does. So thank you again. And again, be good to yourselves. I'll see you next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye.